Nothing in construction starts polished, and neither did this podcast. It started more like a conversation in a job trailer. Just a few guys talking shop. What's working, what's not, and what contractors actually need to hear. Fast forward 5 years, and somehow we turned that into a weekly show that hasn't missed a single episode. Not one. This is a 5 year anniversary bonus episode of the Contractor Success Forum. Today, we're taking a step back, talking about how it all started, the episodes that mattered most, and what we learned along the way. And for this one, we had to bring back someone who helped build the whole foundation. Rob Williams is back with us.
Welcome to the Contractor Success Forum. I don't know how many times we said that.
I miss that. I miss it.
This is the Contractor Success Forum. I'm Wade Carpenter with Carpenter Company CPAs, alongside Stephen Brown with me, Daniel Whitley, Bonding and Insurance. And on this very special occasion, Rob, great to see you. How have you been? What have you been doing?
I've been working with contractors, construction industry. Not necessarily, I guess, well, they all are contractors. They're not necessarily GC, but it's been interesting. It's been great. You guys know I had a wealth management company and financial planning, and it did that with entrepreneurs. And as we were looking, most of their assets are actually their company. So it really occurred to me after a while, and I actually saw some other coaches on some podcasts talking about how the biggest asset they have is their company, and we're working on their financial portfolios. It occurred to me I really should be working in their company. I've now been working in exit strategies. We call it finish strong or selling to strategics. I'm certified with a few different investment banking companies that we work with. So we work with it just like a home stager does to a home. We are a home stager for your business. We're a business stager. So we are not the real estate agent. That's the investment banker that sell the company. We come in and prepare the company to increase the value. And it's not to sell the company necessarily. You don't have to want to sell the company, but it's just like we learned in the insurance industry, Stephen, that you should always be prepared because you never know when something's going to happen. So prepare your business as if you're going to sell it, or as if you're going to not be there anymore, because it might be one of the D's, death, divorce, whatever those 5 D's are. But we prepare it, and it takes years to prepare it. And what we've also learned through scaling up, I used scaling up in my businesses for 20 something years. When I met Vern in the early 2000s, Vern Harnish, who wrote Scaling Up, the tools, everything we used there, I learned that is how you prepare your business to be sold. I was like, wow, what a coincidence. We've already been doing this. So really, we work with that and we prepare them using those tools. The best way to run your business is to run it as if you're an investor or as if you're going to sell your business. So really look at your business as an investor, not an operator. That's probably the number one message.
Yeah. How many podcasts have we done about that, Wade? Just the whole idea. If you're running your business as if, number one, you don't have to be there and that you're ready to sell it, you've maximized its value to sell it as an exit plan, it makes good sense to run your business that way. And when we started off the podcast, when we were talking about, I'm so old school, I'm the old man of the group, but
You're old, man. You're old.
Oh, but, we were just talking about the basic concept of contractors, never comprehending not only the value of the company, but how to exit, how to retire, how to stop it, how to transition that company to the next generation, or to sell it to the employees. We've had ESOP attorneys. We've had every expert you can imagine. We've had discussions on mergers and acquisitions. Remember, that was a great podcast we did once, Rob, with your buddy.
Ratliff. Yeah, John Ratliff is the one that got me started in this.
Yeah, where was he when he joined our podcast?
He was the owner of Scaling Up Coaches at the time. He has since sold it. And actually, it's funny, I was talking about in that podcast, Richard Branson. So now he's doing all these big fancy things. He sold the company to our Rembrandt in the Attic example for that story that we told. That was the guy that bought Scaling Up Coaches.
Hey, remind our listeners real quick, briefly, what the Rembrandt and the Attic meant.
Yeah. So if Stephen, you're selling your house and Wade and I both are going to see your house, and I'm just an idiot, non-artistic person. I walk in your house and this is pretty great. You're asking $1 million. Yeah, I might offer you 950. If I really like it, I might offer you $1 million. Wade is much more sophisticated than I am. He knows about art. He goes up in the attic. He looks behind a sheet in the attic and he comes back down and he says, Stephen, is everything included in this house? You said, yes, this was my family's house. Everything goes in it. I'm not taking anything. You said, you sure? So Wade doesn't tell us, but he saw there was a Rembrandt in that attic. It's a $14 million Rembrandt. So that house now comes with that. That house is worth at least 15 million. What is Wade gonna pay for that house? As much as he can. The concept is every one of our businesses has a Rembrandt in the attic. It has something that is more than the net present value of the future cash flow, is what we were all taught in school. So that business may have a patent that you don't think it's worth. I've actually seen in construction, in our construction related industries, they may have a software or a process that you as a small $10 million business or something may have something that is worth $100 million, which is exactly what happened to that friend of ours, to a big company that may buy it. And that was the story of Bob Verdun, who sold his company. He wanted maximum of 15 million and he ended up selling it for, I guess, I don't know if the number's official, but about 90 million. It's a big story. So that's the Rembrandt in the attic. And that is what we do. We call that a strategic sale rather than a financial sale.
A lot of times in construction, there are reasons that it's not just the equipment that's on the lot. We got the people in place, the processes, like you said. But what were some of the other favorite episodes of yours?
I tell you, it's so funny. I learned more from this podcast than I did from my MBA and any of my undergrad stuff. And I'm constantly going back to my customers and saying, oh, look up this one. I think probably the one that I refer back to the most is the joint venture, because nobody really knows what a joint venture is. We were talking about experts. We've got our own resident expert, Wade Carpenter, for valuations and this thing. We've got our own expert right here on the show. That joint venture I point to a lot. And obviously, I do point to the John Ratliff episode a lot. That was a long one because it had that story is what influenced me to do what I'm doing now. I think there were a lot of other ones, though. So many of them just blend together. It's some of the messages. And it's almost every episode. I said, as the contractor here, you guys are back office. You know what you're doing. We're building stuff and we're told and we do stuff. Every other episode, or maybe every episode, I was like, oh, that's why we did that. I didn't know why we were doing that. That's sort of a common theme. But yeah, the joint venture is probably what I've referred to the most, and so many other ones.
We did a bunch of them on joint ventures. There's a lot of them, I think, about the mergers and acquisitions. And
oh, yeah.
That's, you got some thoughts on that?
I do. The mergers and acquisitions, it's actually the contrast between a joint venture. See, I guess I didn't understand how that works. And I still probably am not the expert at that at all. There's probably a lot that I don't know. And I didn't realize you could not do a mergers and acquisition and you do a joint venture. I thought it was a merger when you did a joint venture rather than the way it is. Maybe you guys can explain the difference between that better than I can, but I didn't realize you didn't have to join your companies together. You can get together to do that. I didn't know what was happening. I'd actually done it before a few times, but I didn't necessarily realize what the attorneys had done on the paperwork.
The thing that gets so stressful is the whole thing you're thinking about, you're going to someone to broker to market your company for you. And then you're signing a commitment letter to them. And then you're absolutely laying your financials and everything bare in front of them to mine it and then sell it. Then you get an EBITDA type offer of return. It sounds amazing. And then the process seems to be, I'm going to beat that back down until you finally just close out of desperation. And, the nice thing about us bringing this to our listeners is so many of our customers, when we've had customers die middle of jobs, many times, it's so hard for us to help them through that. We have customers that said, I've had enough. And it's almost always because they're sick, because contractors never stop working, especially if it was a small shop. They're selling their equipment on a fire sale and trying to finish their projects and get rid of everything. And it's just so much stress to their family. We were thinking there's a lot of ways to get around exiting your company. So we had so many episodes about that. And I was thinking when we first got together, I really didn't understand, how you and Wade were so excited about profit first. I got the concept. I understood it being simple. It seemed to me like it was maybe, borderline. This seems too simple and slick, and somebody else is making money off of y'all like a pyramid scheme. I didn't know. I didn't understand it. And then we had McCowitz on. He was a hoot who really came up with the concept. And then we realized that y'all were the specialist in construction as far as profit first was concerned. And then Wade wrote his book, and we're constantly trying to get that message out to all our listeners. No matter what size you are, the book makes sense. That's all. It just makes sense. You buy a book on Amazon, you don't have to commit to anything. It either helps you or it doesn't. You either read it, you say, well, that's hokey, I'm not interested. Or you say, wow, I've been in this business for 20 years. I just really hadn't thought of it that way. The whole reason the three of us got in this too is because we were so tired of our customers going under because of making the same dumb decisions. Not dumb to them, but to us, we see it all the time. All of us work with so many different contractors that we consider, after all these years, our advice to be reasonably good. We're not perfect. And so then we get into the podcast, guys, and we are constantly, some of our podcasts, I'm sure there's people that are like, unless they're like a CFO geek, they're just like, oh, y'all are killing me today. But we still try to at least bring one message. Every podcast, you get something that you didn't know before that makes a lot of sense. The whole thing we've been trying to do is just shine light on business practices that make sense and keep people from losing money. Everything's about cash flow, maintaining it, and finishing strong with those numbers in the most stressful possible way. There's enough stress just building stuff.
Yeah. You brought that up about the cash flow. One of the episodes, I forgot I had written down some notes of some of my favorite ones, the 7 drivers of cash flow that Wade actually brought up to me. And
Well,
that
that's also from
actually,
scaling up too.
yeah, it's the cash chapter in scaling up. We didn't have that when I did. It was called Rockefeller Habits, and the cash part didn't exist. So I heard it from Wade, and now I used what we call cash flow stories, the underlying software, and we use that all the time. And that is what Profit First did not have, was the working capital side of it. I learned so much of that from you, Stephen, being my bonding agent and talking about that, and then from Wade and what really affects that. There's not one week that I go by without going over the working capital numbers and what we call working capital. I guess the banker's definition is a little bit different than the manager's definition. We're just looking at receivables, payables, and inventory work in process. I have started coming up with now the concept of an inventory of cash, because you have cash, but then you need this inventory of cash to just have in your bank accounts for fluctuations. That's like another balance sheet thing, because cash was not necessarily included. Anyway, that's a specific episode in itself.
We were all spark each other for ideas. I remember Wade was explaining something. You remember the M&M's story, that Wade was using. But Wade was explaining things, and as I was getting what he was saying and understanding its importance, I was thinking, wouldn't that be great if there's just some kind of dashboard, like speedometer gauges, just telling you how your company's doing, running live all the time, accurate data coming in, information from the job, everything. And literally, we started coming up with that. And then Wade has now started, Rob, in our latest podcast, we've got interrelated models where we can take any scenario and we can move a dial and we can change the scenarios and see how it affects cash flow, profit, just days not getting paid. We'll just add 2 days to you not getting paid and show how that affects all the other figures. So we've been having a blast with that, and Wade has too, but what a great teaching tool that's been. I miss also the fact that you two, so many years, just geeked out about every business book that anyone could ever read. Y'all have read every single one of them. Usually you get excited, you read them 2 or 3 times, and you always get one really good point that sticks home with me, and I get that out of it. So all the work that you do, thanks for that. But I do miss you two geeking out about that.
Yeah.
Y'all really are business geeks, I'll tell you.
That also reminds me of one of my favorite, a couple of favorite ones that we did on the throughput and constraint theory from Eli Goldratt. That was really the business fable from the goal was the structure of my book. Rob and his father worked with Eli Goldratt and their company.
Yeah, I
And I
did.
remember
He died kind of right after I closed my plant. The last trailing years when we were trying to reinvent the plant, we hired Eli and all his videos and his cool tools. We were teaching the whole plant the concepts of constraint. It was a lot of fun. It was interesting. It would have been more fun if the economy not been tanking.
Yeah.
his throughput stuff, I sort of proved that you don't have to have the highest profit jobs to make the most money. So you can push that throughput. You can actually make more money and work less hard, So that was part of the things that meant a lot to me.
It's so interesting in my day to day with the contractor people in the working world when we're out there, all the little things that come out of it. And I see their perspective and I forget that they don't know this because as we've learned it, it becomes common sense. But I remember that I didn't know it either when I was running my businesses half the time. There's so many things that as we do these and we repeat them over and over again, it becomes common sense. And so for us, it's hard to realize what they do and they don't know. It's like, how are you doing that? Why would you do this? You're a smart person, but they haven't been through that training or they haven't had the idea of the constraint. I was working on that this week. We had a job where they shut down one machine to work on the other one. The factory guy did. And the owner came back. He said, why did you shut this down? We've got to get the throughput. It's got to go. As many times as we've stressed it and they've been through the classes, it doesn't get in their heads. And just having a podcast, having something that repeated. Actually, I do miss this because having this every week was a very big learning experience. It just constantly kept us on our game. So that is a big thing. You get people should all be listening every week to every
Yeah.
episode. And don't get slack. You got to
Yeah.
keep that thing going.
And don't fall asleep.
Right. You guys are exciting. I did watch the old ones when I was doing this, and it's funny how we didn't know how to have energy. And so in the beginning, it's like we're just sort of on there and we're very
I
still.
gotta
And
hold my hands.
yeah, we're talking to this little box, and it wasn't like we were talking to a person. It's very interesting. Watching some of your latest episodes, how natural people get.
Zoom was just brand new back then. I'm making us sound, old.
Oh, I remember I thought I was the coolest kid in the lunchroom when I had a microphone.
I
It's
know,
like,
I was
"You
jealous.
got a
I didn't
microphone."
understand why. I didn't even have a laptop. I was trying to figure out how to do it, no lighting and everything. Now, my laptop's down, so I'm podcasting from my office. But now, Rob, I've got the whole shed mahal in my backyard, is what my friends call it.
It looks like a fake background. It's like, "Hey, I've been there. That's real, guys. Steven's
Yeah.
background is actually real."
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I've had possums, raccoons, my cat that's adopted me that I haven't adopted it, staring in the window. But yeah, that's my shed I built. And now all the lights and everything are set up like a movie studio. I never thought in a billion years that would ever happen. And I can honestly tell you that I wouldn't have bought all those lights if they weren't cheap. So it doesn't
You're looking
cost a
good,
lot to
man.
podcast, folks. But a whole lot of effort. We need to shout out also to our beloved Amanda. Wow. We should have her on here because she's the one that, if we even remotely look professional, she's the brains behind it.
It's amazing what she can do.
I did see her on
But
that
yeah,
one episode when I was flipping through there.
She did an episode on marketing. We've been through so much together, and I've learned so much technology wise from the two of you. It's always something that blows my mind. Y'all are very patient. You explain it to me like Mr. Rogers, just like I was an infant, slowly. And then you get excited and you go a little bit too fast, and I just smile and give you that dumb look because you lost me.
Yeah. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
What is your favorite episode beside Throughput?
Well, there was another one I was going to bring up with the Rob that I was still remembering too, because I think you actually put that down with that survival trap, the fix this
Oh,
next.
I had that written down too.
Yeah, so many contractors always struggle. The teachings from that book, I think it's not a hard book, but I think there's some great things that I look back at. What did I do wrong when I was building my business? And I didn't know if you had any thoughts on fix this next and that whole survival trap episode.
It really is. It's actually, I had one of my customers bring up yesterday in a meeting, bring up the Fix This Next book. First, talking about the survival trap, when you're looking at where you're going, to me, that's really what scaling up does as well, by how you have your picture out in the front. So if you're at A and you're supposed to get to B, you need to really remember where you're going, because you may make some decisions in the meantime, in the short run, if you don't have your long-term vision, that you go the opposite direction. So you may make one decision, but if you don't think about it in the terms of your long-range holistic plan, you're going to move backwards, because it might be a decent decision to do this thing that day. I can't think of an example, but it takes you further away from where you're going. So keep that in mind. And when you talk about the fix this next, you can look at it and you can figure out what should you really be working on, because we tend to go to where the squeaky wheel is going. You got to get your sales, and then you got to get profitable, and then you got to get your systems in place to get it going. Then you have more of the meaningful parts of your business, like we're talking about selling your business, and then your purpose. So those top parts of the pyramid, keeping that in mind as you're going up that pyramid. And then you got to turn back around. Like, I think a lot of people now with things are going back and forth. I guess they always are, but I've seen people having to jump back down to the bottom of the pyramid again and climb back up and go to the lowest part of your foundation. That's a very construction oriented theme, is you got to build your foundation to get it coming up, and then you constantly got to keep rebuilding. That's different. Hopefully we don't have to rebuild our foundations, or your bonding agent's going to be mad at you if our foundation collapses, but you keep having to go back down and circle and build back up.
Well, I like the fact that we've evolved, learning our specific craft, construction, accounting, bonding, and insurance. We've learned our specialty, and we've shared the information that we know and observe. But now all three of us have gotten better as coaches. That's just a whole nother level of helping people. Being a coach, how do you do that? Everybody's different. I was telling a CPA friend who just could not understand why a bonding company was agreeing to bond something because the numbers didn't support it. I was explaining to him there's so many more moving parts than just the numbers to make a decision. Contractors just don't get that. They're just frustrated. They're not letting me do it because of this and this. But you know what? Contractors with good character can do amazing things. We see the stress that they have every day, all three of us. So much stress running your business, and we just want to help. I believe we've done that. We did have a listener say, listen to the podcast was equivalent of a MBA in construction finance. That made my day. And you were saying the same thing. So yeah, we've been through a lot together over the years. It's been a fun ride, and we're going to keep doing it.
Yeah, Rob, before we go to, I think our listeners want to know what you're doing. You were doing profit first and now scaling up. What does your business look like now? I think you've changed the path a little bit since we've talked.
Yeah,
to
it
you. What
has.
are you
It's
doing
the
now?
same business with the different focus. The pieces have really just been moved around a little bit. What the front tools are now the supporting tools. So the main tools, we still have Profit First and the Pumpkin Plan and Fix This Next and the McAllowitz source, but they're supporting tools. It's more of an overall, like we were talking about a minute ago, just to keep the holistic thing. If we're scaling up, we want to have our long range plan that we do every quarter and every year and move that together. And so we work with companies, and that's changed a little bit. Is I'm really targeting companies that are 10 million to about $1 billion. I've actually had some conversations recently with a few hundred million. And it's interesting. It's not that different, though. Ironically, they're not that different than the other companies. Now, the valuation is dramatically different. We work with them on getting everybody lined up. You make sure you got that plan and you filter it down to everybody. We make sure that every person in the company knows his objective. And then we actually have a plan. That's the biggest part. Is our plan as contractors is get the work done. So changing that to actually have more, why are we getting this work done? What is our purpose? Where are we going, both meaning and financial? But really even more important, what we're finding in the finish strong in the exit planning part is the most important thing has not been the money. It's having a purpose of what you're going to do with that when you sell it. And there's almost 100%. I think they say 75% of the sales of company have buyers or more saying they wish they had not done it this way. 75%. That's pretty shocking. And it's usually comes by as we've studied it. There've been a lot of studies. 2025, actually last year, had a lot of formal studies happening that we reported on recently in a class that I teach about finishing strong. and those 75% are not there. But what is the problem is that they didn't know what they were going to do afterwards. Selling your company, it's not like going to the gas station and buying a Coke. You just pay this and you get this back. The deals are very complex. There's so many outcomes. How long do you have to stay? Who has to stay there? Do your relatives have to stay? Are your key men going to be there? Do you compete? Do you not compete? Do you have stock in the new company? Do you not? So many things that affect your quality of life afterwards. And if you don't get those decisions the way that you want it and take care of your nest egg, you prepare before that deal comes, is knowing what the three pillars of your stool are. How much do you need to have? And then everything else is more purpose driven above that. So you have to structure that deal to have the low risk. If you're talking about like a financial advisor, is putting that structure to have yourself taken care of financially for the rest of your life. And then the other part is really a meaningful thing. There are a lot of deals. We had a specific example of a company that had a $75 million and a $90 million offer. And he took the $75 million offer because it just fit him a lot better. He didn't have to stay there, and then it wasn't at risk, and there was a lot more purpose in it. So that's really what we're doing, is we're working with that. I also teach in AI as well. We're talking about podcasts. Now that's my new podcast. I probably watch 5 AI videos or podcasts every day. So really, that's become part of our basic business. I know you guys have had a couple of episodes on.
You explained AI to me, Rob. I used to all the time when we've talked about the future of construction and AI. It's funny. I mean, Georgia Surety Association in May's having a meeting and talking about how AI is affecting the surety industry. It's always something, and you've got to understand it. And we've had fun talking about it, hadn't we, Wade?
Yeah, we've done a few, and I've been playing with it too. So yeah, I think we all have.
Yeah.
A
And
lot.
whatever we're doing in 1 month, it's all going to be changed. So it's like, I
Right.
don't marry any software, but it's interesting just to have the concept. The pieces and the parts don't really change, but all the buttons do.
Yeah,
And
it's
where
so funny. One of the young guys was showing me yesterday a video of Tesla car and how they had used AI through the Tesla platform to take every scenario that the cameras were seeing and translate it in a certain dialect, angry, and giving you constant feedback about what it was seeing. It was hilarious. I don't know how they did it, but it tickled me to no end. You're scared of technology, get over that. Protect yourself, get over that. I haven't got time to run my business. Well, then it's going to run you into the ground, into your grave. We've had episodes, everything about mental health issues, managing risk, what I do so much, managing that risk. Same thing we were talking about, throughput. So it seems like everything the three of us have been involved with since day one has come together, hasn't it?
it has.
Yeah.
We're all scaling up construction. I guess that's what I should have said. I do. I'm scaling up construction.com. And
Good pitch.
yeah.
Well, it really is hard to believe it's been 5 years and we hadn't missed an episode in 5 years in 1 week. So, Rob, I really appreciate you coming on today.
It's an honor to be back. I can't believe it's been 3 years since we did that last episode together. I would have guessed
it
a
just
year and a
blows my
half if
mind.
you had asked me.
Tell our listeners how they can find you, who you're really working for, who needs to call you. It's like they think they're going to walk in one day and here's the keys, and I'm just going to sell it for $10 million and no problem.
Right. So as we said a minute ago, one of the best places to find me is LinkedIn. If you're on LinkedIn, it's Rob Williams, and Scaling Up Construction is my newsletter on there. And I have a website. It's actually pointed back to my newsletter right now because I'm redoing the website. It'll have all kinds of exciting things when it goes back live. For me, I'm really 10 million to $1 billion in revenue. We want to have a couple million in EBITDA at least, because we don't really know what the multiple. We hope the sales will be. We have 2 different investment bankers that we go down. One of them is, say, 30 million of value sale and up, and that's strictly selling to strategics. It's STS Capital. And then we have Cornerstone, which is more of a diverse brokerage. Now, they both just do the sell side. And I say we work on the sell side. We don't work as much on the buying side. I can help people on the buying side because sometimes you need to grow, and we can do that by acquisition. But these guys are just representing the sell side. And there's a reason for that. You can watch some episodes of knowing where their loyalties lie and who they're loyal to. So you have somebody representing you and getting the most value and making sure you have multiple people bidding for you. That's the only way you're going to get those larger values. So don't have that guy that's calling you on the phone. Just want an offer. That's not the offer you probably want to take. There's a study this year on it. In the study, not one of them was that the best offer when they had it. When they looked at that first offer on the phone where it sounds pretty good, they were thinking maybe it'd be a low percentage, but not one ever in their study won those. So watch out for those guys calling you. You don't need to sell the company, though. That's the thing. Well, first, if you need to sell it right now, then you're too late. You need a few years. And I think, as John Ratliff said on that episode with us, the second best time to prepare your company to be sold is now. The best time was 3 years ago. So you start now. I think 3 to 5 year runway is really healthy. I think anywhere 1 to 3 years. The one, though, you might not get a strategic sale. You're not going to be able to boost the company up. We do get people, though, that are burnt out. And ironically, we're talking about the older people that are selling it, the baby boomers. They want to work till they die, like you said a little while ago, and they wait too long. And then the company has actually lost most of its value. Can it even sell anymore? So you want to sell when you're at your peak, not when it's too late. The younger people are actually the better ones that the investment bankers want. We thought they would want the older people. We've got to talk them into there. You've got to get your company good for these investment bankers to even take you as a client, by the way. They won't take you. They don't just take anybody. It's not like a real estate agent.
Right.
I'll go put a sign in front because they got to work. They're not going to waste their time on a deal that's not good. So we have a qualification sheet that we have to fill out. And that's where their customers come, by the way, is we are actually the gate. They don't have a marketing salespeople. We are actually bring the sales to them, and we have to apply for our client to be a customer of them in all these standards to bring that. It's all logical, and every single person in their business should be doing it. Whether you're doing it with something formal like me, everybody should be doing it. You should have life insurance. And the exit planning that when we started, Stephen, I remember I taught one to a Vistage class. This was a long time ago, maybe 10 or 12 years ago. And it was just a life insurance sale because that was the exit plan. Well, yes, that is something if it's unexpected, but the better exit plan is a planned exit, not an emergency exit. Plan it, and you never know what's going to happen. It gives you options. It gives you freedom. When you do these, you run the business that you want because you're trying to sell a business that somebody else will want, and you want it. And what has actually happened when we prepared these, the guy said, well, I don't want to leave now. It's fine. I don't want to sell it.
Yeah. It's fun now.
Yeah, but
Well,
that's actually when you need to sell it. So that's where so much of the psychology on the exiting and the transition, and there's so much study right now in this exit industry about the person that's selling it, because the main thing is not the money, it's the purpose and how happy do you want it to be. There are a lot of suicides after the sale of the company, and then some. This may not be a suicide, but they're gone in a year or two. They don't have any purpose anymore. So it's more about that. And we're beginning to develop some programs around the transition of life to a better purpose.
Wow. Yeah. That's fantastic. And I want to say this in your own defense that your beloved wife told me the other day, all these years I've been married to Rob Williams, how many years has it been?
A lot. 2001, 25 years.
Yeah. She said, I have honestly never heard him say something bad about anybody ever. I started laughing. I said, yeah, well, that's Rob Williams. All right. That's you in a nutshell. So thank you for being here. And thanks for that comment about after the sale. There's just so much emotion. You build up your baby. It's emotional. You have headaches and stresses, and you want to know, what do I do now? And you can't see the forest through the trees. And we're just going to keep plugging away to try to help people with that, huh? And then hopefully we can have you on for some more episodes and then do a 10-year anniversary.
Yeah. Great. I'll bring my stroller.
Yeah.
My walker.
Yeah. Well, Rob, we do appreciate you coming back to talk to us a little bit. ScalingUpConstruction.com is where you can find them.
That's great. And LinkedIn is the best place where I am. I've actually tried to focus and not be everywhere. Actually, Amanda and I did so many great things together. But I looked up and I had this wall. I put every asset. I had 52 digital assets is what they're called, like something everywhere. So it's like, okay, let's just be one place. I want a web page and I want a LinkedIn profile. So that's where I'm trying to focus on narrowing it down.
Good.
Well, we appreciate you being part of the journey and appreciate you coming back. For all our listeners, we appreciate it. If you've been listening for 5 years, we really appreciate all that. If you just started, not too late, like, share, subscribe. We always appreciate that. We'll put Rob's contact information in the show notes below. If you got any thoughts or wishes for our 5-year anniversary, stick them in the comments. We'd love to see them, love to hear them. We do this every single week, and we will see you on the next show.
Thank you, everybody. This is an honor to be back.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Wade.